Welcome back to The Ed Show. Anti-Muslim fear-mongering is already at the forefront of one 2012 congressional race. One of the two Muslim members of Congress, Keith Ellison of Minnesota, is being challenged by a candidate who's calling him a, quote, radical Islamist and accuses him of being pro-Sharia law. Lynne Torgerson first challenged Ellison in 2010 with the support of the Tea Party Nation. She ended up with just 4% of the vote, while Congressman Ellison easily won re-election with 68%. But Torgerson is trying again in 2012, accusing Ellison of, quote, failing to oppose Islamic Sharia law in the United States. He also fails to support that the Constitution of the United States should be supreme over Islamic Sharia law. Congressman Ellison responded to the attacks, calling his challenger's campaign one of hate, division, and fear. To discuss her campaign, let me bring in Lynne Torgerson, the candidate challenging Congressman Ellison. You say Congressman Ellison doesn't think the Constitution should be the supreme law of the land. You recently asked him about him. Let's listen up to his response.
I believe that the United States Constitution, which has been amended well over 25 times, is the bedrock of American law. Just so you know, there's no state, there's no county, there's no city, there's no village, there's no hamlet, there's no unincorporated area that has introduced a ordinance or a bill to establish Sharia as the law of that area. And so to ban it suggests that you're banning something that doesn't exist and no one is calling for.
The first thing he said was the Constitution is the bedrock of American law. I mean, what evidence do you have that shows he's not committed to the Constitution?
Well, good evening, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you for having me.
Good evening.
I would just like to give a little bit of background. I have been practicing law for 25 years and have devoted my adult career to protecting the constitutional rights of people of all races, nationalities, walks of life, and religions.
That's fine, but I'm asking you, you made a very serious charge on a very respected congressman. What evidence do you have that he does not respect the United States Constitution as the bedrock of American law?
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. And to answer your question, I do want to mention that I am not anti-Muslim in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Congressman Ellison has long been associated with the most extremist groups around. He has close ties to CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which was a named co-conspirator to funding terrorism in the Holy Land Foundation trial, which resulted in convictions for funding terrorism.
Miss, let me ask you again, third time. Do you have any evidence that Congressman Ellison has in any way, in shape or form, supporting Sharia law over the U.S. Constitution? That was your charge. Or were you just fear-mongering and demagoguing to get votes? Do you have, you say you're a lawyer, you gave the background. Evidence, I'm sure, is something you have had to come through in court. Do you have any evidence that Congressman Ellison in any way disregards, disrespects, or undermines the regard and respect of the United States Constitution?
Yes, sir. He was asked approximately a month ago in a public forum what he believes, whether does he believe that the U.S. Constitution should be supreme in the United States or Sharia law. What Mr. Ellison did is actually refuse to answer the question. If anybody asked me that question, of course, what I believe should be the supreme law in the United States, the first thing I would say is the U.S. Constitution.
Well, he just did. I just played you the tape where he said that to you. So you were very clear. He said that. He said that to you, and we just played the tape. What do you mean you would say that he said that?
Well, no, actually what he said is that the U.S. Constitution is the bedrock of American law. That does not answer the question of what should be supreme currently, and that's a very different question, and that's a very different answer. And Mr. Ellison actually evaded the question and then went on to talk about an entirely different subject.
So you are trying to say that Congressman Ellison, that we just played on the tape, that said that the United States Constitution is the bedrock of American law and should be regarded above all law, is not actually saying what he did say. So we should not believe what we just saw and heard him say, that he didn't say that.
Well, the question posed to Mr. Ellison was what should be supreme, the U.S. Constitution or Sharia law. He will not say, and I would invite many others to question him in a public forum, he will not say that the U.S. Constitution should be supreme over Islamic Sharia law.
Well, I think everyone saw the tape. Let me ask you this. Only 4% of the people in your district voted for you last time. 68% voted for Congressman Ellison. Is 68% of your district radical Islamist sympathizers?
No, sir. I would not say so.
Then why did they vote for him?
Well, I don't believe people yet know what his associations and what his actual agenda is.
Okay, let me ask you something. You say you want to protect the United States Constitution. What about the constitutional protection of freedom of religion? Does that apply to Islam and those that believe in it?
Yes, sir, it does.
And
I
you
would
would fight to protect that?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for your time in joining us tonight. Lynne Torgerson joined us earlier this evening. Congressman Ellison sent us the following statement in response to Torgerson's candidacy. He says, I took an oath to uphold the United States Constitution, which guarantees freedom of religion for all Americans. Religious acceptance is a deeply rooted American value, and regardless of political persuasion, it's a value we must protect. It's too bad that someone can obtain such attention based on intolerant rhetoric, especially when unemployment is above 9%. On the other hand, the nation will be able to see how extreme the rhetoric has become. I call on all Americans to reject religious intolerance and embrace our Constitution, which upholds the promise of liberty and justice for all people.